Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the NBA Front Office Show. We are 1 week away from the NBA draft. Lots of rumors, trade talks, all kinds of stuff flying around all over the place. We've got a bunch to talk about. Make sure you do subscribe to the YouTube channel and the Apple podcast feed as well. Spotify, too. I don't want to leave anybody out here on the podcast front. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can follow the show as well. So make sure you guys do just that. I'm Trevor Lane. Joining me is Keith Smith. Keith, I love this time of year. There's so much. We still have the NBA finals going on, but so it feels like over the last, 3, 4, 5-ish days, it's all blurring together. Things around the rumor mill activity, not just the Desmond Bane trade, like things are picking up around the league, and I love it.
Yeah, without a doubt. This is, as we know with the draft, it's lying season, right?
Yes,
Everybody is, telling a little white lies out there and fibbing and talking about how they don't like guys and do like other guys and would no chance they'd ever trade a pick or everybody else is shopping picks or whatever. But yeah, and then we get all the trade rumors going on. We're starting to get a little bit of free agent buzz here and there, a little bit of that. So yeah, it is a fun and busy time.
Well, we've got a lot to talk about on the show here, so let's dive in. And let's start with this. Let's start with actual basketball being played on the court. Tyrese Halliburton trying to play in Game 6, so that calf issue that he's got seems to be really up in the air. I know the Thunder are favored in Game 6. Any chance the Pacers can pull it off if they don't have Halliburton?
I mean, there's a chance for sure because they could shoot the lights out. The Thunder could shoot really poorly, and next thing you know, we're in a Game 7. And I've seen some people saying like maybe you sit Halliburton hoping there's a Game 7. If he can try to play, you got to let him play, unless there's a sense of, hey, this could turn into long-term damage. Then you take a different approach. But if it is just, hey, if he can gut through it and try to play, we'll let him try to play and let's see what it looks like. And my guess is they'll have really close eyes on him to start off the game. And if it doesn't look good, they'll pull him out. But can they win without him? I mean, yeah, but very unlikely.
It would have to be the TJ McConnell show. Would have to find a way to carry them through. I think even if he does play, I think the Thunder take Game 6 and win this thing. I hope they don't. I hope we go to a Game 7 because I want more basketball. And that'd be fantastic. But I hope that Halliburton is able to play and be effective and be himself. Because I'll tell you what, like the Thunder winning, I think had Indiana won Game 5, it would have been like, okay, now there's really a chance the Pacers, they would just need one more win. I think the Thunder would probably still get it done. Like I would still lean towards them, but the Thunder winning Game 5 and now Halliburton dealing with this injury, to me, that takes a little bit of the oomph, a little bit of the excitement maybe out of Game 6. So I think we've seen that reflected in Pacers ticket prices that have dropped. So I hope the Pacers can find a way, this team that's been doing the impossible all playoffs, to find some way to win Game 6 and send us to a Game 7. But I do think it's unlikely, and it's really unlikely if Halliburton's a no-go.
Yeah, and the Pacers are at home, so like we will give them that bump. They'll get that. Their role players have played better at home, so we'll see. Even in Game 5, they get down big and fought all the way back. I think they added all the way down to 2 at one point and just couldn't close the deal. So
OKC's defense just said, nope, not today. Just
locked in. Yep. And that's it, and so let's see how it goes. I picked Thunder in 6 before the series started. I won't, obviously I'm not going to move off that now. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm hoping the Pacers pull it out and we get a Game 7.
The NBA Finals are here, and right now there's still time to get in on the action with my partners at DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you take home $300 in bonus bets. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use our promo code HARDCAP. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Stay in on the action and use your $300 in bonus bets on the DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Combine multiple bets together from the same game. And if you love the thrill of live betting, DraftKings has you covered. Bet live on in-progress games right as they happen, making watching the game that much more exciting. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Pick 6 and have a shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use our promo code HARDCAP and bet just $5 on any wager. And if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets. That's promo code HARDCAP only at DraftKings Sportsbook. All right, let's move along here. Let's talk a little bit about the trade front, and that's going to start with this.
Fire!
I hope wherever Kevin Durant winds up getting traded, I hope that's not his final stop in the NBA, because I don't want to retire the Kevin Cannon.
I mean, history tells us now it probably won't be, right?
Right?
Probably be there for a couple years. And I've said for a while, he should just go full-blown mercenary mode and just go to a different team every year and be like, all right, what can we do? Right? Like, where can we go? Like, let's try to go get this done. Why not?
Well, right now it appears that KD, and it's very well reported at this point, he wants to go. San Antonio appears to be the top of his list, but Houston, Minnesota are in the mix. But Miami's the other team. It's San Antonio, Houston, Miami are the three teams that he wants to go to. We'll consider doing an extension with those three teams. Minnesota seems to be the team that wants him the most, though he does not want to be there. I don't know if it's taxes. I don't know if it's weather. I don't know what, for whatever reason, he does not want to be a Minnesota Timberwolf, reportedly. The Raptors, another team that's been mentioned in the mix. I actually think they've got a pretty compelling offer potentially with that 9 pick. Jakob Poeltl, maybe RJ Barrett. Like, they've got some interesting pieces they could throw in there. And then the Clippers.
Quickly would be.
Emmanuel Quickly, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the Clippers are another kind of dark horse team in all of this. But Keith, it does feel like this is just kind of a waiting game right now. The Suns are waiting for. The Spurs just don't seem to be that interested, but they're waiting for Miami and or Houston to kick in the assets that the Suns want in this. And so far that hasn't happened. And so right now we're still kind of in this holding period. Though if KD would say, okay, I'll go to Minnesota, I think this is done immediately. But it's Kevin Durant that's holding this up from getting him to the Wolves.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of reporting out there that maybe he already killed a trade
in
Minnesota by saying like, hey, that this will be a 1-year deal. Like, that's it. Like, I don't think he threatened like I'll hold out and won't report or anything like that, but I'm not doing an extension there. So if you give up a lot to get me, sounds like the Nets were pulled in because that would need a third team, very likely to get done. The Spurs, there's been some reporting there trying to just pile up assets to go after some other star when whoever that is, when they come available. I don't think it's like any like nefarious. The Spurs know something. I think it's just we don't really want to put a bunch of stuff in a trade for Kevin Durant. Well, maybe we can get somebody who is 28 years old or 30 instead of 37, and that's how they want to go forward. So, yeah, I think we're going to be in a holding pattern on this one for a little bit now, and we'll see. There was a lot of thought that the Suns really wanted to get it done like early this week. Well, it's Wednesday now, so say after today, we're kind of past the early this week point, and who knows? But it's still going to get done. He's not going to be a Sun. I think it still gets done within the next week, even if it's only agreed to and has to be executed later. But yeah, I'm curious to see. Do the Suns come down a little? Does another team come up a little bit? Where does that go?
Yeah, what's funny too is we've seen, which is very typical for this time of year, we've seen like battles taking place through the media, source wars, right? Is what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
There was the report that the Suns are going to have to take less than what they want, than what they would ideally like to take, and then like immediately within, I think this was yesterday, within an hour or two, it was Windhorst said the Suns might just keep him. Maybe they just keep him. That right? It's so funny when you get the kind of source off contest here, and that's definitely taking place on the Kevin Durant trade front. I still think before the draft it will be done. We will know, and again, as we specify, and you did a nice job mentioning it there. That may not mean the trade is actually executed then, but we will know where he's going, what draft pick the Suns will actually have, and all of that. I do think draft night, whatever the Suns will be making a selection using something they got from Kevin Durant. Just where he's going, that point, we still don't know.
Yeah, my guess was the motivation to get it done early this week was to then give them another week to reset and reassess. All right, now we have pick X, we have players A, B, and C. Let's see what else we can do, right? Like what is the next move we can make to try to retool this team on the fly around Devin Booker. There was also, oddly enough, a report that came out, which this is clearly like Suns spin of, hey, when we trade Kevin Durant, like Bradley Beal, much more wide open, paths for him, and more touches. And
I saw that he's going to get better now, because Kevin Durant's not there. Yep,
sure.
That's funny. That was funny. You know what? And people, there's going to be like frustration with Bradley Beal. I don't fault him at all. When the reporting's out there that his family loves Phoenix. Moving sucks, and especially we've got a family, you've got young kids, and if they're getting involved in school and all that kind of stuff, like I get it. If I'm Bradley Beal and I like the Suns and I like Phoenix and all that, and I don't want to move my family, you got a no trade clause. The Suns knew you had a no trade clause when they traded for you. It's not like you sprung it on. Hey, surprise! I've got a no trade clause. I think they knew that this was possible. So I don't fault Bradley Beal at all if he says, you know what, I don't care where you're going to send me. I'm not doing it. I don't want to go there. I've got a no trade clause and I'm under contract for 2 more years, and that's that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, he got it for a reason. He didn't use that power in the trade that sent him to the Suns. He could have very easily said, nope, I'm never leaving the Wizards. I'm going to, kill every trade that comes my way. But now it goes, and you're absolutely right. The Suns knew when they traded for him that this no trade clause would be a thing. And now it's here. It's not like it came out of nowhere to them. And hey, you use it. Use the power you have, because we all know on the other side, teams don't hesitate. They just trade guys. If they think it's the right move for them, then they'll make a move. So I don't have any problem with a player exercising their ability a little bit more to control a situation.
All right. Speaking of teams making moves, a deal that actually went down, maybe not the most earth-shattering deal out there, but the Pelicans and Pacers swap picks. So essentially what the Pacers have done is they've traded the 23rd pick in the draft in exchange for their own pick back for 2026 from the Pelicans. And this makes a lot of sense when we look at the cap sheet of the Indiana Pacers, and I'll pull that up in just a second. This is about making sure that they have as much flexibility as possible to bring back Miles Turner. And so what they're doing is they're taking this draft pick, kicking the can down the road 1 more year so that they don't have the contract of that 23rd pick sitting on their books for this season. Meanwhile, the Pelicans decide, hey, maybe we see somebody that we think will be there at 23 in this draft. The Pacers are going to be good next year too. It's probably going to be a similar value pick, maybe worse, who knows, next year. Maybe it'll be the 25th pick. Let's go ahead, get the pick now. We'll make a selection at 23. Maybe we can package 7 and 23 together to do something. We'll see. The Pelicans making the decision. Let's take the pick right now. The Pacers saying we don't want the salary on the books right now. Let's turn it into a pick for next year. So I think this makes a lot of sense for both teams. And it's one of those kind of margin moves. It's not the earth-shattering, whoa, this player just got traded, but it's, I think, good business on the part of both clubs.
Yeah, and the way that pick was set to work is it was top 4 protected. That pick was actually originally sent to the Raptors in the Siakam trade by Indiana. Then the Raptors sent it on to New Orleans in the Brandon Ingram trade. So it was top 4 protected this year. I think might have been the same protections in 26, and then I think it turned into 2 seconds. I've seen some grumbling by Pelicans fans saying, man, we what if this Halliburton thing turns out to be really serious and he's out for half of next season? Could we have just held on with that and gone to a place where we just kept it because maybe it would be better? Sure, that's fair, I guess. But the reality
injuries is can happen. Sure.
Yeah. Reality is it was probably going to be in a very similar range, if not worse. We're talking about a Pacers team that looks pretty set up for decent success for at least the next few years in an Eastern Conference that's going to be weakened. I don't know why they'd be much worse off than what they are right now. So I have no problem with the Pelicans picking it up. I know you mentioned we're going to get into it more. Now you have the ability to package it together, move up maybe in the draft. They didn't have another pick prior to this in the draft. So now they've got these two first. They've been one of the teams that's rumored at looking to move up a few spots. We'll talk about who could maybe be their target here in a moment. And then with the Pacers side, you said it. This was clearing $3 million off the books so that the Pacers could get to a place where now they have that much more flexibility. They're going to go into the tax to re-sign Miles Turner. But what this maybe does this free up the room to use the taxpayer MLE if they need to? What about just filling out 15 players? Maybe they do that. This could be the difference between signing a guy to a veteran minimum or not, because maybe this gives them, all right, now we've got enough of the clearance we need to do these things. So the Pacers are probably going to look pretty similar to what they look like this year, maybe a couple moves around the edges, but I think, this is good work by them to just give themselves a little bit more flexibility. In addition, this cleans up their picks available for trade. They obviously can't trade this year's pick because they've already done it, but now they're free and clear to trade any of their picks moving forward in the first round because they own all of them. And that's huge for them.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense as well. So, as we said, pretty good little bit of business. Not not the big blockbuster type trade or anything like that, but I think a nice job by both teams, and it makes a lot of sense for both sides to do this. Now, do you see is 23 plus 7 the seventh pick? Is that enough? Do you think for the Pacers or the Pelicans to move up in the draft?
Yeah, probably that should get you up to 4 or 5. I would think.
Worth it in this year's draft class to do that, do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Because if you're I don't think it gets you up to Philly at 3. It's certainly not getting you to 2 or 1. But Charlotte could look at it as and say, so Charlotte has been shopping the 2 early second rounders that they have to everybody to try to get another late first. Haven't gotten anybody to bite. This could be a way. And if Charlotte's man, we feel pretty good that the guy we like at 4 will be there at 7, why not? If you're Utah, pick up another bite at the apple. If you're Washington, maybe pick up another bite at the apple just to move back. Again, you have to be pretty confident that the guy you want will be there at 7. Otherwise, now you've caused yourself a problem. But we'll see, with this.
When you look at the guys, Conk Newpel, you got Trey Johnson, VJ Edgecombe, Ace Bailey. Is there enough? And teams will fall in love with certain players, and teams will rank players differently. But in your opinion, with you looking at what you could get at 7, is there enough of a gap between those guys to make it worth it? I would say, I like Edgecombe. I think that would be really interesting. If
this mock draft, I don't know when the last time they
this is
it.
I don't agree with the order of this draft.
I think so. Let's just get into it right now. We can move it over here.
Yes.
So Ace Bailey, the reports are that he's slipping in the draft. He went in to the draft process for maybe people who are coming to this later. Cooper Flagg's been the number 1 player for 2+ years since he reclassified in this draft class. Then it was Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper were the 2 and 2A. People were like, hey, these guys are going to be weird. They're going to be on the same team at Rutgers, but these are the 2 guys. These are the guys. Who's it going to be between these 2 guys? What's that going to look like? One of them is going to be number 2. Well, now it's Dylan Harper. It's not even really close. The buzz has been VJ Edgecombe's moved past Bailey into that 3rd spot on most boards, especially for Philly, it seems like. Then we're hearing Charlotte not super high on Bailey, Johnson Utah not really high on him. Then you're getting down into the Washington-ish range. Part of what's gone on with Bailey is he hasn't been working out for teams. He is supposedly going in either at the end of this week or the very beginning of next week to work out for the 76ers. His interviews at the draft combine were not good. A lot of people said he just came in seemed like he was unprepared. One team told me felt like he was a little aloof. I don't really want to do this. And one of the suggestions that's been out there is part of the reason he's not doing workouts is he has a promise from a team to take him in the top 5. But let's pause there for a second. We just said all these teams aren't super high on him, supposedly. Now,
Right.
caveat, it's a lying season. Teams will
It,
say
it
all
definitely
kinds of
is.
stuff. But New Orleans is the one team we know. Joe Dumars would seem to be pretty high. There was reporting that he really likes Ace Bailey. So was that the idea? We'll get another pick. Now we'll trade into the top 5. And were they the team that promised them, we'll pick in the top 5 if you're there, kind of shut everything else down to scare off teams? Well, let's say they were like, we can only get to 4. Like, you got to get away from Philly. Now, he is supposedly going to go in and work out for Philly, but who knows what that looks like. But yeah, it's
he goes and just misses everything.
Yeah,
right?
It could be. Yeah, I mean,
you never
guys
know.
have
It
tanked
tanks the
workouts.
workout.
Yeah, guys have tanked workouts before. I mean, that was something we've heard, with any number of prospects. So I really don't know what to make of the whole thing here. I think there is a real chance maybe New Orleans involved with trying to go up and get Ace Bailey. I think the fit's a little weird myself because you already have Trey Murphy, you already have
Herb Jones.
Herb Jones. Yeah, like I don't really get it myself. None of those guys is really a 4, even if you're like, we're moving on from Zion, but it could just be, hey, we feel like the talent's really good. And now I will say this too. Talk to a couple teams who said, yeah, he's immature, but he's 19 years old. Like he's immature like any other 19-year-old. Like wasn't things where they're like, this is going to be a huge problem in the NBA. He's not immature as far as getting in trouble off the court or anything like that. They're like,
I saw the report. He's just kind of a goofball.
Yeah, he's just your kind of average 19-year-old who's moody and a little like, whatever. Like
that was me at 19. I mean, that's most people at 19.
Yeah. And if you look at the production's pretty good. I mean, these are on the screen right now, the basic counting stats. 19 points, 7, almost 8 rebounds, a block and a half per game. That's encouraging to me for a guy who's much more of a wing than he is anything else. A steal per game, passing, it was okay, but his role at Rutgers was, I'm going to take all the tough shots. Like I'm going to be the one who's, kind of taking the, 18-foot fall away when there's 2 seconds on the shot clock kind of guy. At times he would like to, I'm going to dribble into these shots that everybody hates. It's like everybody criticizes him as everybody loves him because it's the Kobe fall away. But the reason Kobe was okay with it is Kobe made it a lot, so nobody cared. Like when Jason Tatum does it, it's like, what are you doing? Please stop dribbling for 18 seconds to take a contested fall away. So I don't want to kill Ace Bailey. I think he is still got the chance to be a pretty good player, but I can understand why he's dropping. The guy who's really moving upwards very, very rapidly is Con Knippel. A lot of people are really excited about him. I think he's just, even if Bailey has a higher ceiling, Knippel has a much higher floor. Like there's almost no way. I think teams I've talked to feel like there's no way he's not going to be a long-term rotation guy for you for the next 10 years. So, go get him, even if the upside's a little bit lower. But
that kind of certainty can matter for teams, because if you're like let's say you feel like there is a high risk, potentially high reward with Ace Bailey, but if you're making that decision, if you're in a front office and you swing and miss on Ace Bailey, you might not be in that front office much longer. Whereas if you could say, hey, we didn't get the guy, but we got a guy. We got a guy that's going to be part of our team with Con for the next decade. That's not going to cost you your job, right? And I'm not saying everybody's in that situation, but that's something that front office personnel have to keep in mind when they're making decisions on draft prospects and things of this nature. It's not just, who do we think has the highest upside? It's also about the floor and what is going to be a defensible pick for me to point to and say, look, we did not get that one wrong.
Yeah. Let's go to this because now we're kind of trending into this territory anyway. So all the reporting around the league, everybody I talk to, they expect a lot of movement in this draft. And it's kind of, this goes back to when you pulled this up initially. It's flat in terms of, I like to say it's eye of the beholder picks. Really, once you get past Dylan Harper, it's because I know there are teams that are like, yeah, we kind of like VJ Edgecombe, but we're not super high on him. Okay. I know teams that love Trey Johnson. I know other teams that are like, nope, like just not there at all. A couple teams that were like, yeah, Jeremiah Fears is going to be really fun, but you're probably going to be pretty bad for a couple years if he's your point guard.
Sure.
Yaku Shonas, the question on him is he going to defend? Kama Malwatch is still pretty raw. So when you get into that whole group of guys, it really turns into, all right, meaning, I don't know, I'm Team X. I love Trey Johnson. Trey Johnson's still sitting there at 7, let's just say. I'm going to go up and get him then. Why not?
Yeah.
Right? It might not even cost me all that much to go up and get him with the 7th pick and make a move there. The other piece that we're seeing, we saw it in the Orlando trade, is around the league, people expect we're going to see a ton of future pick movement. And some of that is the league's wide open right now.
Yep.
No, like, I think the fact that the Thunder were challenged the way they have been by the Pacers, and also the Nuggets almost beat them, that gives people like, hey, they're really good, and we'll respect them. Like, we're going to give them all the respect in the world that they're really good, but we're not talking Warriors or Cavs.
No.
We're just write it in for 4 straight years, and everybody else is playing for second. And I think people are really looking at it and saying, hey, why not us? Like, I had a team tell me, you had a year ago, you would have said, well, no one's beating Boston in the East for the next 3 years or so until they have to break the team up. And now all of a sudden they got one title run out of it, and now they're probably resetting. Like, that's how quickly things can happen. So I think we're in a spot where we're going to see the NBA. I think we've been saying this for months anyway. It's the summer of the trade.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be also the summer of the future traded picks. Maybe not the here's 5 picks for one guy type packages, but it might be 2 picks and 3 picks and 2 picks in a swap and all these things. I think teams are looking at, especially the teams that are a little bit younger, like Orlando. Jeff Weltman said it in his presser about the trade for Desmond Bane openly. And if you don't, Jeff Weltman's the Magic president of basketball operations. If you don't know who he is, he said part of the reason we felt pretty good about giving up those future picks, we feel like we're going to be pretty good in those years. So we're not that worried about it. So if they're not going to be the only team.
And not everyone will be right when they make that,
100%.
that determination.
There's going to be a handful of moves made this summer. And then 3-4 years from now, we're going to be like, how does this team have the number 2 pick in the draft again? Oh yeah, that's right. They got it from, those guys in that trade that, ended up being a disaster.
Yeah. Yep. That's the danger. That's the danger, but that's the risk that teams take when they trade future first. I still think, Memphis popped up. Keith, you and I have talked about this a bit about the, surprise sellers on the market, because we do talk about like, hey, it's going to be the summer of the trade. There's all these teams that say the league's wide open. They say, why not us? That's a lot of buyers. Somebody is going to look at the market and go, well, damn, maybe I should sell right now. There's opportunity here, right? There's demand. Demand is very high. Maybe we can sell into that. Memphis already did with Desmond Bane, and we'll see what they do. We'll see what they do from here, right? But I think that's the other thing to keep an eye on, where we could see some surprises, because right now you look at both conferences and you're like, oh, okay, well, here's a buyer, here's a buyer, here's a buyer. There's like a few sellers, but it wouldn't surprise me if we get a seller or two that we didn't expect to pop up, and next thing you know, they've got 4 first-round picks to go do something with.
And I think I've probably said this before, so I apologize if I'm repeating myself. I think we're going to get teams that normally we say it's around Christmas that teams are like, all right, it's not our year. Like, we're pulling the plug, start trading guys. That could happen at the beginning of December and be like, hey, we're going to open trade season on December 15th. And the reason why that's the unofficial opening of trade season, that's when everybody who signed over the summer, for the most part, is eligible to be traded. I think when we get to that, we're going to have a team that's like, you know what, let's go. Let's be the early mover. Let's go before there's like 6 of us trying to sell. We're all trying to sell the same wing forward, right? Like, we already did it. Now we moved and we're off and running. And, I just think it may benefit a team to be an early mover like that versus let's hold on. I think, too, there's some very interesting teams. Like Portland is a team I've been thinking a lot about. They played really well in the second half of the year. I don't know how many people really know that because like,
people had checked out on the Blazers
exactly.
at that point. Yeah.
But they played really well to the point where there was a couple weeks there was like, is Portland going to get in this thing for a spot in the play-in tournament? Like they're not going away yet. And then eventually they did, but played really well. When you look at their roster, they could go any number of different directions. They have veteran guys. And if it was like, you know what, we feel like we're a guy or two away from being a solid play-in team and maybe more, they could go that way. Or they could be like, yeah, we played really well, but that's not going to be our fool's gold. Let's still trade Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, Anthony Simons, Matisse Thybulle, Rob Williams. Like, let's move those guys. But I think they're like super interesting to watch because they have those directions. It's weird to say it about a team like Utah, but Utah, like, I think I'm moving too quick for you. Sorry.
I did. Sorry. I just threw up the Blazers.
But let's stay here. Because see,
never mind. I'll go back.
Fine, this is what happens. We take a couple days off, and we're all kinds of out of sync. See, it's what do they always say, right? It doesn't take long to lose it, and there's your example.
This is like the driver's ed car. You've got the brakes over on your side, and you keep pressing them.
That's not quick enough, I guess.
That's it.
All right, so we'll stay on the Blazers. We'll stay with them. But this is what I'm talking about, right? Like, yeah, Ayton's contract's kind of big, but it's expiring. Grant's deal, yeah, it's not great, but it's not 42 million, it's 32 million. Simons expiring can help a ton of teams. Avdia, forget it. People keep asking, not happening. They love him. They're not moving him. But Rob Williams, 13 million expiring, always hurt. Go. Thybulle's going to pick up that player option. I'd be shocked if he didn't. He could be traded. And then you get the rest of the guys. Those are the guys who stay. Henderson, Sharp, Klingon, and the other young players. Tamani Kamara, obviously, stays. So Portland's in a spot where it's like, man, they're one of those teams, right? You look at it, you're like, I kind of like that guy. Kind of like that guy. Kind of like that guy. That's how you're like, man, I guess this is why they were above 500 in the second half of the season and playing pretty good because there's a lot of likable guys. But you got to be really careful. You don't want to be like, all right, let's go trade. You know, they wouldn't have made sense to be like, let's go trade for Desmond Bain. Because it's like, what does that do? So what? So now you're the Grizzlies? Again, you're the 8th seed? Like, is that where you want to be? But they're interesting. All right, we can go to Utah now if you want.
Okay. Well, you mentioned Utah as a team. Do you see Utah as like a surprise buyer? Because I've got Utah as a seller, specifically John Collins, Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson. I don't think they're part of the future in Utah. Yeah. So I see those guys as on the move. But you brought up Utah in this conversation. Do you have them as maybe a surprise buyer on the market in addition to being willing to sell those secondary or those guys that aren't going to be part of their future?
Yeah, I think you might see them kind of when we talk about them in like August and things are done, we might be like, wow, they kind of bought and sold, right? Like they moved some guys out, but they also brought some guys in because I don't know that Jazz fans have the stomach to let's just tank again. Like, let's just be bad because they've been letting them have it left and right in Utah over the last 3 years. And I think there might be a little bit of pressure rather than saying, I mean, this is kind of like if you were like a cap nerd, this is starting to get pretty like, ooh, I like the way this cap sheet looks because it's Markkanen and a whole bunch of dudes who make less than $8 million.
Yeah.
Coming up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you start to get kind of excited about that because you could kind of, hey, we're just going to run it back and play it out. We'll see what it looks like. And then we'll let Collins and Sexton and Clarkson and Martin all leave.
Is Markkanen cool with that? Like, hey, we're going to have another. That's the problem.
Yeah. So is Markkanen all right with it? Are the fans going to get real loud? Because I think Utah fans, to some extent, will be looking at themselves a little bit like, hey, like, I get it. The Pacers hit on Halliburton in a way we haven't yet. But, like, we have Markkanen. Why are we not making other moves to put guys around him? Why not us? Now, a big part of the problem is you're in the West, so it's way harder to pull that off. But, like, I just think something weird's going on in Utah, and I don't know that it's going to be quite as easy to today on June 18th to say, yeah, they're tanking. They're 100% going to, do a sell off, because I just don't know that all those guys are going to be all right with that.
Well, and on top of that, when you look at the Jazz and what's happened with them, are Jazz fans not thrilled that the team, is it a big deal? No, but they've gotten their wrists slapped for going overboard with their tanking and resting players and all of that. And that's the kind of stuff that gets people to go, wait, is this really what we should be doing and the way we should be running things?
Yep. And that gets the people to say, maybe I'll check out the hockey team next year instead of doing Jazz tickets.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll do that. No, I'll see what it looks like with them for a year and those kind of things. That's where you have to be careful. There's a real alternative in town now that didn't exist for basically the Jazz's entire lifetime in Utah. That's what you did in the winter in Utah, because there weren't other alternatives like that. And obviously I don't live in Utah, and I'm not trying to be disparaging of the city by any means. It's just they were the big sports team. Now you have another one. So it's like, all right, maybe we will look at something else, with this. So that's where you got to be careful. It's one of those things where you can't tank forever, right? It does. That's tanking. It's a strategy that can work. There's no guarantee it will, obviously, but you can't tank forever. We know that. You can't be bad for 5-6 years in a row and assume like, all right, everything's going to be great. When we come out of the other side of that, it may not be, because especially in the lottery system, if you don't have lottery luck, you're stuck like they are this year. Now they're the 5th pick. And it's like, exactly. Man, we fell out of, I think they really wanted Cooper Flagg. I think they would have been fine with Dylan Harper, and they're not getting either one of them. And now it's like, man, where do we go from here?
Yeah, that's the, on one hand, you could say that's the unfortunate side for the Jazz, but then on the other, isn't this exactly what the NBA wanted with their flattened lottery odds? Is so that teams 100%. That do what the Jazz did don't necessarily get rewarded for it. And that's what happened here. They fell as far as they possibly could.
Yep.
Now, we've seen teams like the Detroit Pistons who, they suffered a ton of injuries and they still dropped to 5th in the draft. It's not like it's all karma or whatever, but but still, Utah will certainly be an interesting team to watch. And again, this is going to be, I think, a fascinating market to see it develop. And I think all of this, it's not like we're talking about months from now. We're talking about this is now, right? This is all developing right now. And we're going to see, I think, a lot of things actually come to fruition over the next week as we lead up to, and perhaps even during the NBA draft. We could be hitting that breaking news drop quite a bit draft night.
And these are nice players, right? Even if we're not talking about marketing, getting traded, we're bigger fans, I think, than most are of John Collins.
Yes, but absolutely.
John Collins can be he had a really good season. Again, I don't think people were really paying attention, but had a really nice season. Colin Sexton, pretty good player. Jordan Clarkson, pretty good player. Like, these are guys who could all help contending teams if that's the direction Utah wants to go. So, they certainly, I would not blame them if they said, hey, we're going to stink again, and you're all going to hate it, and you're going to be miserable. Maybe it leads to Markkanen being traded eventually. But the best thing for us is to get, even if it's a bunch of late first-round picks or younger players for these guys, like, maybe that is the way to go. There's also a world where none of those deals are so overwhelmingly large. You could probably take them all into the season and make a trade in season with any of those guys too. It's really kind of the line for that is 40 to 50 million. Once a guy's over that amount, that's where it starts to get a little harder to make an in-season trade. Just salary matching becomes an issue.
And roster spots.
But we'll see. Yeah, roster. Yeah, because you're generally talking, unless we're bringing in extra teams, 2, 3, 4 for 1, and nobody's sitting on those kind of roster spots in season.
All right, let's finish up. By the way, before I forget, we should note, for those of you who are still watching the show right now, still listening, you guys are the real ones. So we'll give you a little heads up. We are going to have a special guest on tomorrow's show.
Yeah.
So we're excited about that. So that's something to look forward to. We'll have a guest on tomorrow's show, and I can't wait. I think it's going to be a good time.
We'll tease it a little more. First time guest, to the
First time
show.
guest. Yep.
So not a friend of the program that you already know, and it's not someone in the media sphere.
Yes.
So we're not just bringing in one of our buddies and like pumping it up. It's somebody I think people will like hearing from.
Absolutely. I am definitely excited for it. All right, let's finish with this real quick. Bobby Portis won't give the Bucks a hometown discount. He feels like he's kind of done hometown discounts the last few years. He wants to get paid. And you know what? Like, we tend to look from a fan perspective. We tend to look at the teams through the team's viewpoint. Like, oh, couldn't this player just take less? For a lot of these guys, though, they're setting themselves up, their families up for their futures. I don't blame Bobby Portis in terms of not wanting to give a hometown discount, but maybe that complicates things a little bit for the Milwaukee Bucks when they're trying to put together their offseason. They're already rumored to be aggressively looking for stuff to add to the team this year to try to support Giannis. Might make it a little bit tougher if Bobby Portis is saying, hey, no, I'm not taking a pay cut here. I'm not taking less. I need to get mine.
Yeah, and the Bucks have full bird rights, so even if he opts out, they can pay him whatever. So we'll see where that goes with him and with Brook Lopez and Gary Trent Jr. and Taurean Prince. They've got all these really good free agents. The rumor out there is Giannis probably not going anywhere, so let's try to build up as best we can with knowing that Dame is out and try to put the best team we can together to go compete in the East. But yeah, if you're doing that with those kind of key free agents, it's just going to be a little harder to pull that off if Portis opts out, because then you start talking about, well, we can't re-sign all these guys at a fair number and use the mid-level and use, other exceptions and make trades and all those things. It just gets really hard. So really interesting offseason coming in Milwaukee, even without a Giannis trade. Like, a Giannis trade would have been fascinating for a number of reasons. Now it'll be, all right, how do we rebuild this team on the fly, even with a key player out for most, if not all, of the season in Lillard?
Exactly. So tall order in Milwaukee, but we'll see what they can pull off. All right, everybody. We appreciate you joining the show. Busy time, of course, so make sure you do hit that subscribe button. And until next time, see ya and stay safe.